Hey, what's up guys? Philippe here and welcome back to our channel. Yesterday I got the following video recommendation on my YouTube feed. It read, "Why modern metal vocals are terrible." And it came from a channel with about 500,000 subscribers called Spectre Sound Studios. Now, before going any further, let me start by saying that I actually like some of the content on the channel and I learned a lot of things from it as well. I have, however, unsubscribed a few years ago because seriously, if I wanted to hear that amount of moaning, I would start working on the weekends, or I would start going clubbing with my aunts. Now, I'm sure that Glenn, being the good sport that he is, surely will not mind a little bit of criticism as well. Now, Glenn opens the video by mentioning a band that came to his studio or something and recorded some really shitty vocals with a completely unimaginative song structure. And he then makes a direct correlation between that band and the current state of modern metal. Now, Glenn goes on giving examples of some really bad bands that I've never even heard of, to be honest, and he then mentions past heroes of his, like Bruce Dickinson, Dio, etc., inferring that these were the last great singers. And then he goes on to ask,
a quick scan through the first few decades of metal produces a list of truly amazing singers, from Ian Gillan to Rob Halford, Bruce Dickinson to Ronnie James Dio, Jeff Tate, and the list goes on and on. Cornell still stands as one of the greatest voices of our time. Fast forward to today, and the new generation of truly great and memorable metal singers are...
Exactly.
You see, now this is the part that I completely disagree. Metal has many subgenres, and the examples he gives are from people that, well, by the way, I also love, but are predominantly around the pre-2000s, maybe even pre-90s, or even pre-80s. So I assume that when he refers to modern vocalists, he's probably talking about post-2000s or post-2010. One thing is stardom and another one is talent, and the two are completely different things. The people that he mentions, like Dio, Bruce Dickinson, etc., now they sure had stardom and talent, undeniably, okay? But unfortunately, and I agree here, stardom in metal is a thing of the past. Actually, I think the whole rock star thing is dead. But that doesn't mean that the talent is also gone. They're just not as mediatic, I guess. You see, the difference between the pre-2000s and the post-2000s is the enormous musical technological advancement, the whole revolution and availability of music. The Pro Tools, the auto-tune, the triggers, the drum samplers, publishing platforms, streaming companies, and most importantly, the ability to self-release without depending on anything rather than the available online services.
It's a very groovy time.
Now, back in the 70s to late 90s, the music industry revolved around music labels and the capital investment made by these. I mean, very few bands would go to the studio without having someone backing them up. So there was a lot less artist publishing and a much better triage of talent. Today, everyone can write, record, publish, advertise at the click of a button. And yes, it does put all musicians like you and me in pole position, but it also greatly pollutes the music space. The data set increases and, well, hence we have more artists and a lot more music. But you also have the collateral of a lot more crap. But that shouldn't obfuscate the good talent that still exists today. Artists like Howard Jones and Jesse Leach and Tatiana Shmyaluk, and by the way, peace for Ukraine, Corey Taylor, Lizzie Hale, and even the late Chester Bennington. I mean, that girl from Spirit Box as well, I forgot her name, this new singer that just appeared in the mainstream now. I mean, all these guys have some really nice and interesting voices. Howard Jones can put his voice on top of literally shit and still make it smell like roses. Glenn also mentions the lack of passion. Sam Carter from The Architects, for example, for me has one of the most interesting ways of delivering music that I've ever heard. He doesn't have the range of Freddie Mercury, but the way he delivers his music and his phenomenal lyrics, I mean, it's unequaled right now. I just hope we don't have to wait another 30 years to start appreciating the good singers that we have today. Now, there's one thing I do agree here. A lot of music and musicians these days tend to be over-intellectualized. And yes, some really consider not just the vocals as an afterthought, but also on how many techniques they can actually cram onto a song. Now, people should focus a little bit less on their ego and more on connecting with the listener. I do agree with this. Music shouldn't just be looked at as a mathematical equation. It should be written from the heart and not from the ego. I noticed that a lot of artists tend to focus a lot on the craft instead of focusing on the product. Take a look at this example right here. What? Now this is some phenomenal technique that would take me eons to get anywhere remotely close to it. No disrespect to the guy, but these are the kind of tricks that I would expect to see in a circus, not in the stadium or in an arena. I wouldn't pay a ticket, I wouldn't pay £100 to go and see that. But judging by the number of views on this clip, I can see that a lot of people like that. But for me personally, he's playing the song and I'm forgetting as he goes along. But hey, this is my taste. It's not really up to me to say he's good or bad or put him in a ring with Malmsteen and Vi and say, this guy sucks. I mean, who the fuck am I? So there are some things from the past we are slowly leaving behind and maybe could be more present on today's music, but that doesn't clutter the good singers that we have today, regardless of their gender.
One group that I can honestly say gives you any hope for modern metal singers is the women. Female singers are doing a lot of the heavy lifting lately, and if you guys could start showing an ounce of the commitment and fire that they're showing, we'd all be better off!
So seriously, mate, book yourself an ENT appointment, go on Spotify and listen to any Architects record, and tell me that there isn't sweat, blood, and tears in all of those songs. The instrumentation, the vocals, all of that stuff is amazing. Now, if you think he's shit, then we just have different tastes. As we say in Portuguese, if everybody liked the green, all the paintings would be about grass. Anyway, if you're a Gland fan, I repeat, I like some of Spectre Studios' videos and I learned a few things from them, just like I said in the beginning of the video. But that type of video,